Hey there, Rip City. Happy Saturday for some of you. My condolences to everyone else because there are a select few of us who are struggling to get through the day today. Those are the people who were decked out in green and yellow yesterday. That's right, your Duck fans around the state, of which I am one. I told Chad I might have to use a sick day, but he said, Burkhardt, get over it. So here I am, getting through the day with you, the loyal listener, as we get you ready for Blazers Jazz in just a few hours right here on Rip City Radio. And, we'll talk about that Duck game a little bit because we can't get through all this without talking college football. In fact, Chad would probably message me and be like, hey, bro, how come you didn't talk college football at all? I was like, because I was trying to get ready for basketball, Chad. That's why. And there's a lot going on right now. Alabama up 26-17 over Georgia with 6 minutes left. A lot of people kind of predicted Bama might win that game. We're about to be sent into chaos. Could an SEC team be left out of the championship playoff? Oh, my gosh. Give me the chaos. It's just unfortunate that Oregon isn't in that 4 now. Darn it. Great season, though. Great season. Another great season going on the basketball court. And it all depends what your value of grade is, because I think the Blazers' record is not great, but what you're seeing from them lately, I think, is because we're really starting to see the development go the way we want to. Things are looking up for Portland. I am Chris Burkhardt, by the way, filling in for Chad doing today. And again, just like the other day, don't worry, he'll be here. He's going to be filling in for Mike Lynch once again, pregame show at 5:30, getting you ready for Blazers Jazz coming up at 6:30. And of course, we are on YouTube as well, not just the radio waves and the iHeartRadio music app, but YouTube. So go to YouTube, type in Rip City Radio. We'll pop right up. Like, share, subscribe. It's a great way for you to join the chat and get in your thoughts and your comments without having to call in. Because I know some people are a little apprehensive, a little afraid to call in sometimes. Maybe they call in ready to go, and then someone puts them on air and they clam up. Guess what? On the keyboard there, you can just type to your heart's content, and it'll help lead the conversation. We'll talk about the Blazers, the Jazz, and get you ready for what's going down. But before we fully get in to today's game, we got to talk about what happened just a few nights ago on the road in Cleveland, where the Blazers picked up the 103-95 victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it was interesting because I believe one of our commenters on YouTube pointed out ahead of that game that it was 111 was like the over under. Do you think Portland holds them under that? And I was like, that's an interesting question. I think they can. Their defense is good, but also they got a lot of weapons there in Cleveland. The thing with Cleveland is they're playing basically 500 ball. They're 10-9, but they're still trying to figure a few things out with that roster. But they do got a guy in Donovan Mitchell who can absolutely light it up. I mean, he dropped a 40-piece the game prior to playing the Blazers. And so they know they can score, but defensively, man, the Blazers locked in, and they held that team to just 95 points on the night. This is one of those things like you love to see, right? And the fact that the Blazers won this game after starting so slow out of the gate. I mean, halftime hit and the Blazers had just 40 points. And you're just like, yeah, that's weird in today's day and age to have only 40 points. But at the same time, they had held Cleveland to 46. And so they needed that big second half. And that's exactly what they got. I mean, they came out hot in the third quarter, scored 34 points, and then dropped another 29 in the fourth while holding Cleveland to 20. And defensively, I mean, again, how can you just not love the way this team is playing right now? They're doing everything they need to do on that end of the floor. Guys like Matisse Thybulle are coming off the bench and playing incredibly well, especially on the defensive end. Now, he did chip in 10 points in that victory, and people get mad like, Thybulle can't shoot. He's just a bricklayer. Well, he's a defensive guy first, right? And he plays good defense for the Blazers. That's what you want. And then, of course, Tamani Kamara played great defense. Malcolm Brogdon had a good game. Shaedon Sharpe, though, was the highlight, in my opinion, and many a Blazer fan's opinion as well, because after multiple games where you're like, okay, we need you back, Shea, because early season, you look great. Now you're starting to struggle. The shot's not there. He did look like he had tired legs for the last few weeks. He bounced back in a big way. 39 points, 11 of 15 shooting on the night for 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. His very first career double-double. I mean, that's a great performance from the young man, right? Absolutely. I mean, when he's on, he's fun. And he's going to have his ups and downs, his ebbs and flows, right, as he gets here in his second year in the league with a much bigger, a much expanded role right now. But you just love to see him finally get that bounce back, because I think if there was a guy on this roster who desperately needed a bounce back, it was one Shaedon Sharpe. Now, a couple other players didn't look as good on that night, one of them being Scoot Henderson, but at least didn't look good in the box score. But we'll talk about him coming up in the next segment with What's the Scoot. We'll do a little bit of a deeper dive on Scoot, but just a real quick for those of you who like to look at box scores and hear box scores, he did have just 2 points on 1 of 8 shooting, which, again, people look at that and go, oh, that's a tough night. But he found ways to impact the game, and those are the things we're going to talk about because it's definitely nice to see. And, again, this Cavaliers team that they played isn't a great three-point shooting team. They shoot the ball from deep at just 35% on the season, and Portland held them to 21.9 on this night. And this was where coaching and in-game adjustments were key to this one. And as we said in the pregame show, one thing Cleveland does well, since they aren't a great three-point shooting team, is they can attack you in the mid-range with their multiple guards, with Garland and Mitchell especially. But then they got those big bodies, so they know how to get you down low as well. And they're going to get points in the paint, and they're going to find ways to beat you up down there. And that's how they did early. I mean, Evan Mobley ends the night with 20 points. Jarrett Allen had 12, and they were finding those buckets that we were talking about kind of at will, kind of playing like an old school bully ball almost, to the where Portland was just like, what do we do here? And then the adjustment came. And Portland found a way to stop them in the paint, force that ball out, force them to take those three-point shots that they aren't very good at taking. And at the exact same time, Portland has flipped the script too, because they started the season as the worst three-point shooting team in the league. And over the last 5 games are shooting some of the best numbers from deep in the entire league. They were 14 of 35 on the night. That's 40% from deep, which is big for this team as they continue to progress and continue to grow. Will that number fall back down to earth? Like, yes, I feel it will eventually, because this team isn't full of shooters. But you look at the numbers and it's like, okay, Duop Reith, who that guy can splash it with the best of them for a big man. He was 3 of 4 from deep. Matisse Thybulle, 2 of 5. I mean, people will knock that one too. Like, oh man, Matisse is a bad shooter. Man, 2 of 5. That's 40%. Keep it there. That's not bad at all. And then Jeremy Grant, 3 of 6. Tumani Kamara dropped 1. Brogdon dropped 1. And then, of course, Shaedon Sharpe, 4 of 7. So he was pretty hot from there as well. And so when you can get going from 3 and then defensively you can put the clamps on people, it's a good night. And so the Blazers can continue to do this. What they need to do is continue to build off this type of performance where defensively they can, knock off these good offensive teams. I mean, that's how they got the win in Indy. Right? It was the defense against one of the best offenses in the entire NBA, in the Pacers, right? And they knocked them off. And that's the fun part about these last 3 games, as I said in the postgame show on Thursday. It's just the fact that all these games have been so different, right? I mean, you go in Milwaukee, you get up by 26, but then you just run out of gas. You drop the lead. Then you go into Indiana, where you just battle from start to finish. And then you go into Cleveland, where the opposite of what happened in Milwaukee, where you start out super, super cold and then rely on your defense to get you back into the game. And that is fun, honestly, if you're a fan, right? Watching the game be played in so many different ways, but also feels weird to be able to say as a Blazer fan that, like, the defense kept you in the game, right? Because for years and years and years, with Dame, it's like, okay, we need defense around him. We need some defenders. They need defense. And right now you got it. Again, Thybulle's playing great. Kamara's playing great. Jabari Walker played limited minutes but took advantage of them. DeAndre Ayton is a good defensive center as well. And so defensively, when this team is having an off night shooting, at least to start the game, they're able to stay in the game and give themselves a puncher's chance, which is what you want. So how can they continue to build on that tonight against a Utah team that's going to come into this one battered? They're dealing with various injuries across their roster. Let's see. Let's find a check-in real quick, see how the roster's looking. Let's see. I think Holdall tweeted this out. Retweet from Andy Larson, who covers the Jazz. This was yesterday afternoon. Lauri Markkanen, Jordan Clarkson, and Chris Dunn all out for Portland. Kelly Olynyk is questionable, and that was yesterday afternoon. We'll see what the updates are today, but those are big pieces, right? We know Jordan Clarkson is a bucket getter, as the young kids say. He's a certified bucket, right? And then Lauri Markkanen has found a new home in Utah and really expanded his game. So you take those two guys away, those are their two main offensive punches. So now Portland has a little bit better of an idea of where they need to attack, how they need to attack, and can this defense get the job done and keep them in the ballgame again? And then, if they do you get a Blazer shooting performance of the last 5 weeks, right, where they're shooting over 40% from deep, or do you get that performance of the first few weeks of the season where they couldn't hit the ocean standing on the beach? Right? Which one do you get? Because defensively, you know what you're going to get. Defensively, you're going to get the team that's going to make it hard for the other team to score. Outside of that Oklahoma City game, that's just kind of how it's been with this team. They're going to make you work. They're going to get you tired on that end, and then hopefully score a few on the other. That's pretty much the game plan tonight. And then can they win that third game in a row? Should be fourth game in a row, because they shouldn't have dropped that one in Milwaukee. That was until, the fourth quarter. That was an incredible 3 quarters of basketball. They came out firing. They're taking out one of the best teams in the entire NBA. Got a 26-point lead on their, former face of their franchise. They couldn't hold on to it, though. And then the way they rebounded over the last 2 games after that is something that I just love. Because I think a lot of times a younger team can take a loss like that and just, oh, no, not again, and just kind of wallow in their own self-pity and then watch the losses just pile up. No, they bounce back, and they bounce back in a big way. All right, if you're listening on the radio, grab your phone, download the YouTube app if you haven't already. Go over there, type in Rip City Radio, like, share, subscribe, join the conversation, join the chat over there. It's pretty quiet right now, but, come on. Alabama's taking on Georgia. Georgia right now looking at 4th and goal. Down by 10, 2:50 left, 4th and goal. This is their season on the line. Does a one-loss Georgia non-SEC champion get in? No, with the way things are going over the last few hours, it looks like Washington's in. Florida State's going to probably get in. Texas might get in. Like, it's all getting crazy right now. And Georgia crosses the line. Touchdown Dogs with just under 3 minutes left. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on your home of the Blazers. When we return, what's the Scoot? We're going to talk about Scoot Henderson's game that he had against the Cavaliers, really break that down for you. We're also going to listen to Coach Billups, hear what he had to say after the Blazers 103-95 win over the Cavs. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad Dewey on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Chad Doing. That's because he's over there at Studio C getting ready for the Blazers pregame shows. He's filling in for Mike Lynch today, and it is time for What's the Scoot? And let's break down the game Scoot Henderson had, all right? The tough part with Scoot is that everybody wants him to be Dame. They will forever be linked, right? That's the tough part here because the same year, the same offseason that you use that number 3 overall pick to draft Scoot, you traded Dame, right? And so there will always be connected. It'll always be you traded Dame for Scoot, even though it wasn't a direct trade. That's just how people feel, right? So he's always going to be held to a very, very, very high standard. And when you look at the box score, it's easy to say, uh-oh, what's going on here? Because he was 1 of 8 shooting, had just 2 points in that win over the Cavs as he continues to come off the bench as the Blazers roll with Malcolm Brogdon at the starting point guard position. Of course, those rotations will change even more when Anthony Simons gets back, which could be roughly about 2 weeks away. I think was December 16th was kind of that initial timeline. So he's right around the corner, real close to getting back. And those rotations will change even more. How does Scoot fit in there? And he definitely has a spot, though, because when you look at the box score and you get upset and you're like, oh, my gosh, he had another terrible game. I don't think he did. Because in just 22 minutes of action, he was tied for the team lead with Malcolm Brogdon with 7 assists. So he was impacting the game despite the fact that he wasn't scoring. You look at the plus minus, which is not the tell-all, but it is part of the overall analytical picture. Scoot Henderson led the team, had a plus 12 plus minus while he was on the floor. And the fact that he had 7 assists, considering the fact the Blazers are not always putting the ball in his hand and letting him run the offense, there is a lot of situations where it is, Malcolm bringing the ball up. Obviously, they're letting Jeremy Grant bring the ball up at times. You've seen Sharp do it every once in a while. I feel like you see Tamani almost start to. Like it's not just a straight pass to your point guard. Let your point guard be a traditional point guard and bring the ball up the court and then set your half court offense. No, he's played a lot off of the ball as well. So the fact the ball wasn't in his hands as the primary facilitator and playmaker all night long, and he was still able to get 7 assists, I think is a major, major good sign for him moving forward. Because that's what he is at his best. At his best, he's going to score buckets, but he is a pass-first type guard. Go watch his tapes. He's so good at that. I think that's why he was easily compared to at first, mainly because he's athletic as well, but was compared to like Russell Westbrook, right? Well, Russell Westbrook had all those triple doubles, and a lot of that, yeah, they were easy, air quotes, assists, but a lot of those were running that pick and roll with Steven Adams and then being so athletic that he was able to grab the attention of the defense, and that was able to allow him to get those easy passes to Steven Adams for the easy dunks or the easy buckets. And so those assists are going to come for Scoot real easily. And then at the end of the day, he's going to get all those other harder ones that he's getting right now, finding those open shooters across the arc, driving, penetrating, kicking back out, those little things that you absolutely love to see. Commenting right now is that in the chat, Utah by 2. Vegas says Utah by 2. That's good for us. Well, I mean, Vegas said Oregon by 10. And yeah, that worked out for the other teams. So we'll see how that one pans out. My heart is still broken after yesterday. I struggled. That was rough. Losing to your rival twice in one season. My heart can only take so much. That's the fun part about sports, man. It's not life or death. You move on. Get to talk about it the next day. It's sweet. Bo Nix is awesome. The Ducks are awesome. A two-loss year, yeah, I'll take it. A lot of teams who would love to have the season that the Ducks had today. And kudos to Michael Penix and the Dogs, though. Oh, boy. Michael Penix, if you give him a second to throw in that pocket, he is going to throw an absolutely beautiful football. My goodness, he's on target. It's unreal. As Bama gets in the victory formation, Georgia out of timeouts. Milroe takes the knee. 1 minute left in this game. Bama up 27-24. Oh, man. Good thing Oregon. If Oregon would have won, and then Bama goes and wins right now like they're doing, the college football playoff is about to be sent into chaos. Does Bama automatically get in because of the lofty powers of the SEC? Oh, my goodness. Tomorrow's selection, right? They're doing it on Sunday. Oh, my gosh. It's going to be great theater. 40 seconds left. One more time. Victory formation. Milroe goes down. Bama wins this ball game, knocks off undefeated Georgia in the SEC championship game. Unbelievable. Whew. I mean, believable, but unbelievable. Because I personally thought Alabama was going to win this game because I think I said this weeks ago. Watch what's going to happen when this is all said and done. Nick Saban, even though Bama's not looking the same to start the year, is going to find a way to sneak into the college football playoff. And here we are. Things are about to get wild. All right, let's get back to basketball, though. We'll talk a little more football, too. Don't you worry for you football fans. But let's get back to basketball, where we're going to head to Cleveland, jump in the time machine, head back out to Thursday night. Here, Coach Billups. Here's what he had to say following the Blazers' 103-95 victory over the Cavs.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously tale of two halves. Thought that physicality and jumping in the passing lanes hurt us in the first half. And we were just like, I mean, we were too, like, we playing like robots out there. We talked before the game about they're going to be in the passing lanes. Cut behind the defense. You know, we'll get layups and dunks. We'll be able to create other opportunities, and we just didn't do it. And I thought outside of the turnovers, you know, defensively we played well enough in the first half to keep it close. So I come in at halftime and we talk about, again, what we have to do to alleviate their pressure, but also saying, man, we're in good shape. You know, don't over it. We're okay. We're okay. We're in good shape. Let's just take care of the basketball and see what happens. You know, and we did that. I thought our second group came in with some incredible energy. You know, Jabari's Big 12 rebounds, Scoot 7 assists, Wap, you know, made some shots, and obviously Shaden was special tonight, like he is oftentimes. And everybody else just kind of helped, pitched in. Matisse's minutes were big. Everybody, you know, and that's how we have to do it. We have to collectively try to give ourselves a chance every night.
You mentioned Shaden's night. I mean, how would you describe what we saw?
Well, I was even on him in the first half. You know, he was moving around out there like, you know, like we was in the summertime playing pickup ball. So I had to get after him. And he came out there and, you know, I tell him all the time, I don't care if you're mad at me, act like you're playing against me sometimes, you know, and just go out there and get after it. So he did that. I mean, he was great. I mean, not only his 29 points, which were big, with 10 rebounds. He got some grown man rebounds out there, him and Jabari. You know, when we made an adjustment defensively and decided to switch everything, you always worried about it from a defensive rebounding standpoint. But those young fellas, they went and got some grown man rebounds.
Chauncey, who do you credit for Garland tying his career high in turnovers and it's been a really rough night? Anybody in particular that you credit for the defensive work?
Well, I mean, it's really all of us. I thought I started shading on him. You know, his length, he's so strong, and I thought he bothered Darius a little bit in the game. But when we switch, it's everybody, you know. So it could be Tumani on him, it could be Tease on him, Jeremy, I mean, Jabari. It's just so many guys, you know, because we switch so much, to be honest with you. But when we switch, and what I love now is when we switch, the next guy just takes that personal responsibility to guard his yard, you know. So I think you can give it to all of them.
Do you think was it tired, just kind of reckless, or what do you?
Nah, I don't believe in tired. I ain't doing that.
Okay.
You know I ain't doing that. Just lack of focus. It's lack of focus. And it's the careless ones. I told them at halftime, you're going to turn over, throw that shit out of bounds. At least we can get our defense set. But it's the live ball turnovers that we cannot get back and impact that. So, it's just it's just carelessness and lack of focus. That's all. We're not tired. We was good. We didn't play yesterday.
There you have it. That was Coach Billups following the Blazers 103-95 victory in Cleveland. And yeah, he just cracks me up. Like, I just like how he's just like, yeah, we ain't tired. We had a couple days off, and he tells Shea, if you're mad at me, just imagine everybody's mad at me. Like that's what he wants. I think that was just kind of funny there, Chauncey. And again, great defense from the team, great overall victory as they're playing really good basketball right now. Really good basketball right now. I mean, does it mean they're a play-in team? They're going to turn this thing around, make the play? No, I don't think so. But you're seeing just the little incremental growth that you want to see from this team. And that's something to hang your hat on and like as they continue to move forward and try to get another victory tonight in Utah. All right, going to take a quick break when we return here on Blazers Game Day. We might look at this college football playoff picture for a second because things are about to get wild. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, welcome back in to Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad Booing. But don't worry, he's not going anywhere. He'll be right back in about an hour's time with the Blazers pregame show, getting you ready for Blazers Jazz right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio. And he is he's probably itching right now. He's probably wishing he was in here right now just so we could talk some college football, because things are going to get crazy in the land of the CFP. As you look at it right now, I said we're going to take a minute. We're going to talk a little football too, because guess what? I know there's a lot of cross fandom, right? A lot of Blazer fans who pay attention to what's going on in college football. A lot of Blazer fans who are either Duck fans or Beaver fans or Husky fans. Shout out to you, few Husky fans in our listening pool. That one had to feel good yesterday. It hurts for me. I'm a Duck. I bleed green and yellow. It's my alma mater. I was in the marching band. Know the fight song word for word. Losing to the Huskies. Oh, that hurts. Losing to the Huskies twice. Oh, that hurts more. Like, no. Why? Why? But those are great football games, man. You lose to the Huskies twice this year by a combined 3 points. If this were a 12-team playoff, you could not convince me that Oregon wouldn't have a chance still, despite losing twice to the Huskies. I mean, just because, say the Niners go and lose twice to the Seahawks but still make it into the playoffs, right? Doesn't mean that the Niners don't have a chance to win the Super Bowl just because they lost one of their rivals twice. I mean, this was great football through and through, and you got to give mad kudos to Kalen DeBoer and the Huskies, because what they did in this game was, you could tell, practiced all the things that they didn't do well in that first game. It was so easy. Like, I did not expect the Huskies to win the battle in the trenches. I mean, Oregon has won that battle with most teams all year long, and honestly outplayed the Huskies in that first game. But the Huskies, man, again, kudos to them, put in the work, got the job done there. Also, absolutely love the way their running backs not ran the ball, but blocked. They picked up those blitzes so well and gave Michael Penix time to throw. When you give that man time to throw, he's going to find his receivers. He has a couple great ones there in purple and gold. So tough loss for the Ducks. We'll see what happens now. Likely Fiesta Bowl candidates. Hopefully Bo Nix plays. But going undefeated, 12-0 in conference play, 13-0 when you count the Pac-12 championship game. Washington's in. They are in. They are in the CFP. Probably with the Georgia loss, probably into the top two, and we'll see what happens there. If Michigan takes care of Iowa, which they should, however, Iowa could shock the world because they do have a very good defense. Their offense is not going to be able to score points, though. So if Michigan, all they need is like one touchdown, that might be enough. But Michigan, probably going to win that game, so it's probably Michigan-Washington, right? Texas won, and they won handily, 49-21 over Oklahoma State. And this is where things get interesting, guys. Because if Florida beats LSU, or excuse me, if Florida beats Louisiana, my bad, the FSU threw me. If Florida wins that game, does the committee leave out an undefeated conference champion? And I think the answer is no. I mean, they don't factor in the fact that their number one quarterback went down. They're still winning ball games. They're at number 4. If they go undefeated and win that, they got to be in, right? I mean, they're in one of the Power 5 conferences. That means something. Are they one of the 4 best teams in the country? I don't think so. Of the 8 teams that went into this weekend with a realistic chance, I think FSU is number 8. So what happens there? Because if they are in, that means the 4th spot's coming down to Alabama and Texas. And Texas has the head-to-head, which is huge for the committee, right? So with Alabama pulling off this upset and Texas winning big, does the SEC get left out of the college football playoff? That's wild. That's absolutely wild. Now, if Louisville wins, FSU's obviously out of the picture. Louisville doesn't have a chance to get in. If Iowa wins, they're not in. Then you could have real chaos. But if Louisville wins, then you're looking at Michigan, Washington, Texas, Bama. Wow. Now, if Louisville wins and Iowa throws a massive wrench into this thing, then which one-loss non-conference champion are you putting in? Because Oregon's out now. Oregon's got 2 losses. They're out. Unfortunately for Duck fan, they're out. Even though I still think they are one of the top 5 teams. Like, that number 5 ranking is legit. Do I think Oregon is better than Texas? I do. Do I think Oregon is better than Washington? I did. Washington proved me wrong. You got to eat it on that one. But if Michigan's out and FSU loses, then you're going, okay. Are you putting in 1-loss Michigan? Are you putting in 1-loss FSU non-conference champ? Or are you putting in 1-loss Georgia non-conference champ? Alabama just threw they just threw a wrench in everything. Crazy part is everyone wanted to know what would happen if the Ducks won. And if the Ducks won, I personally thought the Pac-12 champion would have been a shoo-in. But with the Bama win, man, oh boy, things are getting crazy. And those games will be tipping off here later tonight, 5 o'clock, Michigan taking on Iowa, 5 o'clock, Louisville taking on FSU. And we'll get a little bit of clarity here going on. Fritz in the chat says everyone in Alabama just became big Hawkeye fans. Yeah, I mean, because it's crazy. Like, I don't think I'm wild in thinking that if FSU and Michigan win, then Bama might be the odd team out here. Like, when it comes to 2 one-loss champions, right? Like, if Oregon would have won and the debate would have came down to Oregon and Texas, then there to me, there's huge debate. Absolutely, there's debate. There's debate to say Texas has the big win over Bama. There's debate to say Oregon has the big win over Washington. Again, this was if Oregon had won the Pac-12 championship game. There is debates all around. Even with Alabama there too. Well, Alabama has the win over Georgia. Okay, but Texas beat Bama. There's so many conversations to be had when you're debating those various one-loss teams. But I feel like there's no real conversation to be had for the undefeated conference champions, right? So if Michigan wins, they're in, obviously. And if FSU wins, they should be in. Because even though they lost their quarterback, they're still finding ways to win. And then we get a big win over Louisville in the ACC championship game, be 13-0. And if you leave out a 13-0 team, conference champs who took care of business every single weekend, oh boy, that's tough. Like Fritz says, it's exciting. It's like our own little March Madness. Yeah, it is. This is kind of wild. And you think next year, guys, when this thing goes to 12, right? When this thing goes to 12 in Oregon, who has 2 losses by a combined 6 points, they're in the 12-team playoff. They still have a chance. Man, Georgia, who basically just got knocked out, I don't think they're in now. They still have a chance, and nobody wants to face them. Not even Alabama wants to face Georgia again. That's the toughest team to beat once, let alone have to do it twice. Wow. That's crazy. It needs a better name. Okay, we need a word for madness or the equivalent that starts with D, so we can just throw it into December. Where's Neil Olshey when you need him? You need that thesaurus. Bifurcate, right? Anyway, I love college football, guys. And for those of you who tuned in for basketball talk, I'm going to get back to that, I promise. I just had to get this one off my chest. The college football playoff is amazing. I think 12-team is going to be even better. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Love it. I love the chaos. Bring it on. Hook it to my veins, as they say. Tulane's going down right now. They're down 26-14. Oh, man. Things are crazy. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we come back, I'm going to hit you with a scoreboard report, take you around the NBA and the college football, tell you what the scores are, and get you ready, truthfully, for this Blazers Jazz game coming up. A chance for the Blazers to get another dub, their third in a row. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, let's take a look around the association and the college football world, see some scores from today. Let's start with our final scores in college football. As we talked about, Alabama with the 27-24 victory over number 1 Georgia, and chaos is a brewing in the CFP now. Oh my goodness, it's going to be an intense 24 hours. For the American Athletic Championship, number 22 Tulane falls to SMU 26-14. In the Big 12 Championship, Texas grabs the 49-21 victory over Oklahoma State, and that may have secured them a spot in the college football playoff, especially. I don't know, especially really, because had Georgia won, it probably would have been Georgia, Michigan, Washington, FSU. Texas, though, has a legit argument now because of that victory over Bama. Could Bama get in? I'm ready for it. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it's going to be crazy. And, of course, last night, UW 34, Oregon 31. Still stings to say, but, I'm a man of integrity. Got to come out here and do it. All right, in the NBA, 8.5 left in the second quarter. The Nets lead the Magic 49-28. Franz Wagner, 9 points, leading the way for the Magic. Bridges, 26 points for the Nets, trying to snap that hot streak that Orlando has been on. 4 minutes left in the second quarter in Detroit. The Cavs have the 39-38 lead over the Pistons. Jarrett Allen leading the Cavs with 10 points. Jalen Duren leading the Pistons, 12 points and 6 rebounds. And a bunch of games yet to start. Tonight at 5 o'clock, you got Pacers Heat, Pelicans Bulls, Hawks Bucks. At 6 o'clock, Thunder taking on the Mavericks in Dallas. The Grizzlies making a visit to Phoenix. 7 o'clock, you got the Nuggets taking on the Kings. At 7:30, you got Rockets Lakers. And, of course, at 6:30, you got Blazers taking on the Jazz. And 2 final scores, though, from today. The Clippers pulled the massive comeback. I believe it was a 22-point comeback to beat the Warriors 113-112. Steph Curry, 22 points and 11 assists. Paul George led the way for the Clips with 25, 6, and 6. And the final score, Timberwolves 123, Hornets 117. Rudy Gobert, 26, 12, and 3 blocks. Terry Rozier, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists for the Hornets. Man, massive slate of NBA games today. They're just like, you know what? Yeah, I know the entire world is watching college football and has got their eyes locked in, wondering what's going to happen with the CFP, but we're just going to throw every team possible out there, and you're going to like it. This is a sports fan's dream. This is where you get the multiple screens up, and you got SEC championship on one, Clippers pulling the comeback on the other. Meanwhile, you're just waiting and counting down the time until the 6:30 tip for your Portland Trailblazers. Tell you what, man, November going into December, it's an absolute great time for a sports fan. Absolute great time. I love it. I just take it all in. Take it all in. Because once December's gone, we hit that lull. College football's gone. NFL's just about to wrap up. Basketball really gets going, though, as everyone knows. Basketball really doesn't start until Christmas Day, right? Or at least that's what I've been told. That's what I've been told. All right, if you guys want to jump in on this, you know what to do. Go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. Join the chat there, man. It's pretty quiet chat today. Got lots of lurkers, people who watch but don't chat, but that's okay. You don't have to chat. I'm just saying the chat's a great way to get the combo going, or you can jump on the X app, formerly known as Twitter, and if you don't already, you can follow me over at Chris J. Burkhardt. Send all your posts at me, your tweets at me. I don't even think they're called tweets anymore, but send them my way, and we'll continue the conversation all night long and through this game. And again, tonight, the Blazers, 6:30 tip, taking on the Utah Jazz down in, or up in, if you want to talk about elevation, Salt Lake City at the, am I alone in this to all you listening? Last game they were in Utah, Travis and Curtis, they kept saying at the Delta Center, the Delta Center. I'm like, am I in a time warp? Are they messing up? Like, I thought it was Vivint Smart Home, Delta Center was like 1995. Nope. You see, what the Jazz did is they renamed that bad boy, and it is now the Delta Center once again, in like an absolute just like smart branding move, right? Like, yep, we're gonna our contract's running out with this sponsor. We're gonna go back to that old sponsor, give it the name that so many people grew up with. Like the Delta Center just flows better. That's what it was always to me, right? It gives you hope, even though it wasn't sponsored, that maybe you get the Rose Garden back one day. Maybe like 1-800-Flowers can sponsor that bad boy and just say the 1-800-Flowers Rose Garden, and then everyone can just call it Rose Garden for short, and everybody's good, right? Oh, Mika, is this tree from you? Or did you send this in? It's one of our commenters in the chat says threw some Niner love on the tree for you, and I got a comment if you did send this in, and this is your doing. I'll find out in a second when you type. A, that's amazing. But B, I was watching it on the stream yesterday, a little bit of Rip City Drive, and I was like, oh, cool. Chad brought in a tree. That's awesome. Now I walked in today, full disclosure, and I was like, this tree is ugly. It's nothing but Broncos stuff. And then I turned my head and I was like, oh, there's Niner stuff on it too. This tree's beautiful. This tree's beautiful. And it is Mika's doing. Dropped it off yesterday. That's awesome. I love it. I love if you could see on the stream here, a couple little Niner snowflakes as well as Bronco snowflakes. The topper is you get the Godfather in there as well. He has favorite teams. He just won't tell you. I think it's all a ruse. He's just trying to pull the wool over our eyes, pretend like he's not a fan. Got the Diet Coke. He's a lover of the Diet Coke, as is Chad. I used to be. I had to give it up. It was my New Year's resolution in 2020. I was in New York. I was down in I would down an entire case in a day. I was addicted. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. It's my New Year's resolution. Haven't had a Diet Coke since. But I do like the ornament. So the tree's awesome. Great job. And a little bit of Niner flair. You can't go wrong with that. All right, going to take a quick break here on the show. When we come back, it's time for our Coors Cold Hard Truce. We'll get you your keys to the game in the final segment. Get you ready for Blazers Jazz right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, welcome back in to Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here. What are you filling in for Chad doing? Time to get you to your Coors Gold Hard Facts. Fact number one, Anthony Simons is about 2 weeks away from making his probable return to the lineup after dealing with that ligament tear in his right thumb. And it is going to be an absolute fact that the Blazers are going to have a question mark with their rotation moving forward because Malcolm Brogdon has played incredibly well for the Blazers. He has been so good in this starting role, and the Blazers have moved Scoot to the bench. And when you get Ant back, what do? Because Shaedon Sharpe has earned these minutes. He's playing some of the most minutes in the entire NBA. And he had a huge game in that victory against Cleveland with 29 points and 10 rebounds, his first career double-double. Do you easily just throw him back to the bench just so you can throw Ant back at his natural 2 spot? Or do you throw Malcolm Brogdon to the bench? He is a reigning 6th man of the year, and let him be the bench guy and just run Ant at the 1, even though you want him to be more of a shooting guard. And in that instance, what happens to Scoot's minutes? Because Malcolm Brogdon, again, he plays the tweener, but you probably want him more at point guard than you do at the 2. So that's a cold hard fact. There's going to be some questions here. Earlier in the season, it seemed like the answer was obvious, right? Hey, Sharpe coming off the bench makes sense right now. Just let him do his thing. But with the way he's been playing, man, I love him in that spot. Fact number 2, this is a big game. It may not feel like it, but it's a big game because when you look at the standings, the Blazers and the Jazz are both right there at the bottom. Portland 6-12, Utah 6-13. I mean, this game is going to matter. I mean, it's going to matter in weird little possible tie-breaking scenarios at the end of the season for who gets a better pick or this and that. And this also matters if you're the Blazers, because if you're the Blazers and you grab that win, number 7, you're sitting at 7-12. I know there's plenty of you out there listening who the candle was probably going out on hopes of being a play-in team. But at that point, you'll only be 2 games back of the 10th place Clippers, and all of a sudden that light might start to flicker again a little bit, right? You might get a little bit of hope. Do I think this team's a play-in team? I think they're a play-in team at their absolute best. I don't think we're going to see that probably this season, though. I think where they are in the standings right now is probably close to where they finish. But that hope does make for some fun basketball, does it not? Absolutely does. At least I think so. And the third fact is not even basketball related. It's for all my fellow Duck fans out there. We saw it after the first loss to Washington, and we saw it again last night after the loss in the Pac-12 championship game, and that is people who are out on Dan Lanning. Why? Because he lost to Washington twice in one season? Because he lost to Oregon State the year prior? Like, why? Why are you out on Dan Lanning? He's a good coach. He's a real good ball coach. What happened against Washington this year was, Kalen DeBoer's really good. He's a good coach as well. Considering what they had there with Jimmy Lake and Washington made a home run hire. Absolute home run hire. And here's the thing. I think Oregon made a home run hire too. And he's going to continue to recruit well, which he's doing. He's going to continue to get his guys in here. We'll see what happens with the transfer portal if they end up going to a quarterback or trusting Ty Thompson. But I trust what Dan Lanning's doing, man. Building something special doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. I mean, do you want to really get rid of the guy who took your team to the Pac-12 title game in its final year, where there was debate about you and Washington being the 2 top teams in the country? I mean, Oregon lost that game, yes, but Oregon is still undoubtedly a college football playoff contender. Like, just because only 4 teams get to go doesn't mean that there's only 4 teams that are legit contenders, right? With the loss tonight, Georgia might be out. And Georgia is still probably the best team in the entire country, even with that loss. Because even good teams lose, man. Going undefeated in college football is tough. Ohio State lost to Michigan. Ohio State's still one of the best teams in the country. Doesn't matter what you think. They're good. And yes, Oregon lost to Washington in the Pac-12 title game, the final Pac-12 football game for the foreseeable future. Maybe one day it comes back. I'm going to hold out hope on that one. And they lost that game, but Oregon lost 2 games this year by a combined 6 points. 2 games by a combined 6 points. It just hurts more because those 2 games were to Washington. But maybe sometimes it's okay, instead of putting all the blame on Lanning and this, it's okay to tip your hat and just say, yeah, Washington's good. And they really are. They absolutely are. In the famous words of Pedro Martinez, sometimes you just tip your hat and call him your daddy. Of course, then the Who's Your Daddy chant started, but the Red Sox got the last laugh 3 nights in October. Highly recommend going and watching it. That's a cool, hard truth, though. That's not a Blazer truth. That's a Duck truth. We're a Northwest show here. You got to throw those out there every once in a while. Man, it still sucks, though, losing that game. That one hurt a lot. My wife filmed the video yesterday of my children copying me. And then after they were done copying me, like I'm sitting on the couch, like just getting it all in. And my middle child, my 6-year-old, is just running around the living room every time they're showing a replay going, oh my goodness, why wouldn't they just score? And I'm just like, yeah, that's where she's going to be just like her dad when she grows up. But I'm not out on Dan Lanning, man. I think Dan Lanning is special. I think the recruiting job he's doing at Oregon is special. I think the coaching he's doing is special. Just college football is tough, man. It's a hard sport. It's not like basketball. You don't get 82 chances to go out there and win. You know, the Ducks got 13 chances to go play football. 13. It's really, really tough to win all those, especially when you're playing competition as good as Washington. All right, back to basketball, though. That's what matters. We're going to get to our keys to the game here in just a little bit, but let's look at this Utah Jazz team. It's an interesting team. They are injury riddled, just like the Blazers were earlier in the season. Lauri Markkanen out, Jordan Clarkson out, Chris Dunn out. Late last night, Kelly Olynyk was listed as questionable, but I believe the reports are now that he is out today too. So that's a good chunk of their roster. And they're just trying to get Walker Kessler back into the rotation after he missed 2 weeks of time dealing with an injury. He's back now, and he's playing well. I mean, 2 games in, he had 14 points, 8 rebounds, couple blocks. He had 6 blocks against Memphis just a few nights ago. And in their last game, he only played 26 minutes, but 7 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 3 blocks. And block shots is where he's going to impact the game, but they're struggling. They are struggling. I mean, this was a team that pulled the trigger on getting rid of Mitchell, getting rid of Gobert. Interestingly enough, they're like, okay, we're resetting this thing. This is what Danny Ainge wants to do. We're going to reset this thing because it's not working. We're going to get a ton of draft capital. We're going to build, and we're going to this thing is 5-6 years out. That's what they're doing right now. And it looked really good for a second there because last year they're like, whoa, this team, what is going on? They're playing well. They are playing well. This year, not so much. Utah is struggling this year. Like I said, they are just 6-13, a half game behind the Portland Trail Blazers. And it is extra interesting when you look at that trade, that Gobert trade to Minnie. Everyone thought Minnesota just got fleeced. Like, oh my gosh, you gave a young talent in Jared Vanderbilt. You gave all those picks for Rudy Gobert. You already have a center who plays at an all-star level. Now you have 2 of them. How are they going to coexist? That's a stupid trade. That is just a dumb trade. And now Minnesota is sitting here at 15-4, the best record, not just in the Western Conference, but tied for the best record in the NBA with those 2 big men that people said couldn't play next to each other. Interesting how that works. Cleveland, they're struggling a little bit. They'll figure it out, though. I think they're a good team. They just need to maybe move some pieces around. The whole Jarrett Allen Mobley thing, just 2 big lumbering bigs next to each other for those guys, doesn't work as well. maybe they can follow a blueprint in Minnesota, but what Minnesota does differently with their bigs is the fact like Jared Allen is like that old school big, right? Give him the ball down the paint, let him go to work. Mobley kind of likes to play the same way. Little maybe moves a little quicker, but he's still kind of old school. As where in Minnesota, what makes them unique is you got Cat, who's a great shooter for a big, so that gives you versatility. He's going to hit you in the mid-range. He's going to hit you beyond the arc. He's going to hit you in the paint. He's going to hit you in various ways. And then you got Rudy Gobert, who, especially this season, again, is playing at that all-NBA, defensive player of the year type level. Unique in their skill sets and both vastly different, right? One definitely gets all his points more at the rim and, again, plays incredible defense. The other spaces the floor. Interesting dynamic that they have going on there. A little bit different than what Cleveland's working with. And then they got Anthony Edwards, who is quickly becoming one of the best in the game. Might be the up-and-coming face of the NBA. He's been incredible. So I like what they're doing. But this isn't about the Timberwolves. This is about Portland and Utah tonight. How do they win this game if you're Portland? These are like the classic trap games, are they not? Oh, that team is missing all their stars and they're struggling. Remember when Portland went into Philly injury depleted and CJ Ellaby led the Blazers to an improbable win? That's why if you're the Blazers, you have to look at this and go, it doesn't matter who's on the court. We got to go in, we got to knock them out early and leave no doubt. Ideally, come out in this game like you did against Milwaukee. Get out to a big 15-point lead. Without Clarkson, without Markkanen, they might struggle to come back if you get them into an early hole. That's what you want if you are the Blazers. That almost sounds like I'm talking about keys to the game, which we will get to here in just a second. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will get your keys to the game. My final prediction, if you will, my diagnostic on how the Blazers can get the victory over the Utah Jazz over there at the Delta Center. Great name, by the way. Love when you go back to things that weren't broke in the first place. Blazers Jazz coming up in about an hour and 15 minutes, and it'll be right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for the man Chad Doing. But don't worry, you're going to hear him in about 10 minutes' time. He is filling in for Mike Lynch today on the Blazers pregame show, getting us ready for Blazers Jazz here in just about an hour. And it is time for our keys to the game. Key number one, if you are the Blazers, sounds pretty simple. I mean, anybody who knows basketball or even doesn't know basketball knows this, but keep shooting the ball well from three. Over the last 5 games, the Blazers, they're shooting that ball over 40%. And it's interesting because early in the year, they were the worst three-point shooting team in the league. But over the last 3-4 games, they've been shooting out hot. And that's why they've won 3 of their last 4, one of those against this very Utah Jazz team. And that's good to see. That's good to see, especially where it's coming from. It's so nice to see Matisse Thybulle hitting a couple. You're seeing Tamani Kamara hit a couple. And if he can get the offensive side of his game going, watch out, because defensively, he plays great. And then, of course, you have Duop Reith, who's been up, and he can just straight stroke it for a big man. So it's nice to see these guys taking shots and making shots. So continue to shoot well from 3. That will be key. Now, another key to this one is I want to see them go to DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant in the paint a little bit and just attack Walker Kessler. Kessler has just been back now for 4 games after missing a few weeks dealing with an injury. And if they get him out, especially with Kelly Olynyk not in this game, Lauri Markkanen, even though he's kind of a tweener, small forward, power forward guy, if they can attack their best defensive player in the paint and perhaps get him into foul trouble, which he doesn't do very often, that's going to be key, because then I think it's going to allow them to start going to DeAndre, get easy buckets, draw on the defense, throw them back out, and boom, you got some easy buckets, easy 3-pointers, wide open ones for this team to hit. So that is a key there. And then third key here, just be aggressive on the glass. That's pretty self-explanatory, but the reason they need to attack on the glass is the fact that the Trailblazers, they are the 3rd worst rebounding team in the league, averaging 40.7 per game. And the Jazz are the 3rd best, averaging 46.8. Now, when this team is losing, and without, obviously, Lauri Markkanen and Kelly Olynyk and Jordan Clarkson, they're going to lack a couple of their good rebounders, and they're going to find ways to get easy buckets because they're also losing their best scorers. Markkanen and Clarkson are both phenomenal, right? So they're going to have to find ways to get buckets to stay in this game. And because they are such a good rebounding team, that's going to open the door up for easy offensive rebounds and easy offensive putbacks. So if you're the Blazers, you got to be super, super aggressive on the glass so that they don't get those easy rebounds and get, again, those easy putbacks. That's not what you want. Because even though, like I said, Utah is the number 3 overall rebounding team in the NBA, they are number 1 on the offensive glass, averaging almost 15 per game. So Portland is going to have to come out just ferocious on that glass, especially considering the fact that Portland is dead last in defensive rebounding. Not only are they dead last, they're the only team in the NBA that averages fewer than 30 defensive rebounds per game, right? Now, these are all averages. So, of course, there's games where they have more than that, and you are going to need today to be one of them. It's going to be absolutely huge. I mean, you go back to just a few games ago when Portland picked up the 121-105 victory over the Jazz. Now, in that one, Jordan Clarkson and Lauri Markkanen both played. Lauri Markkanen scored 24 points. Jordan Clarkson scored 13. But for the Blazers, and this was one of those games where, Duop Reith got the start. DeAndre Ayton wasn't playing, dealing with a couple different things. But the Blazers were active on the glass. 37 rebounds. Again, not a ton. They still got out-rebounded, but the key in that was they were hitting those wide-open three-pointers. Shot 43.6% in that one, which, again, you love to see. And then attack. If they can get Kessler into foul trouble, I think it's going to be huge. That's going to be huge. What else would I like to see? It's not necessarily a key to the game, just other things I'd like to see tonight. And what do you think your keys are? What do you want to see? Type it in the YouTube chat if you're still there in the chat right now. But this is another game that I want to see Scoot. I'm going to say it until it happens. I just want to see Scoot go ham. We need to see the scoring, okay? That's going to alleviate just a little bit of our stress if we see him score the bucket. We know that he can throw the assist. He's a dimer. He's doing that quite well. 7 assists last game, despite, again, not being the primary facilitator for large chunks of the game. But I want to see him just go and, again, be Scoot. Let him be Scoot. Put the ball in his hand, run the pick and roll. Let him attack the rim. Let him be Scoot. And if you do that, I think you're going to start seeing more of those 16, 18, 20-point performances. And once you get in that groove, I think once he gets in the groove, then it's that snowball effect. I think it's going to be really, really nice to see. Another thing I would love to see tonight, another nice run from Jabari Walker. He's played limited minutes at times, but he's taking advantage of those minutes and playing very, very well. And they're going to need guys like him to be active on the glass as well. All right, you hear the music, especially if you're Rachel and you listen to the radio feed so we don't have copyright problems. I love it. Seven Nation Army White Stripes means it is time to go. Chad Dewing, he's on standby. He's got the Blazer pregame show for you. And then, of course, 6:30 tip, Blazers versus Jazz here on Rip City Radio. And when it's all said and done, don't go anywhere because the fifth quarter will be right here with yours truly. Enjoy the game. We'll see you in the fifth quarter.